With multiple interest rate hikes, especially the one that came July 12th, most recent to this video, it leads me to ask, how is the Toronto condo market holding up? From certain perspectives, the Toronto condo market is the most susceptible to a downward pressure on the market. Counter arguments then can also be made that Toronto condos are actually the best positioned property types to withhold downward market pressure. Well, in the previous video, I covered the Toronto and GTA real estate market as a whole. As I promised in that video, let's dive into Toronto and GTA condo numbers a little bit more specifically. In today's video, I'm going to be using the latest TREB market report for Q2 of 2023 with regards to the GTA condo market and contrast it year over year with Q2 of 2022 and take a look at some month over month numbers comparing June and May. As always, this video is being recorded as of July 12th, 2023, so we do not have full July data. Nonetheless, though, let's dive into the numbers and take a look at the Toronto condo market as it stands. As always, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sam, a Toronto real estate agent actively working within the Toronto real estate market and GTA real estate market. If you find any of this content enjoyable, feel free to subscribe and like. On this channel, we like to discuss all things having to do with the GTA and Toronto real estate market. Buyer advice, seller advice, market trends, pre-construction previews, building reviews, area analysis, and so much more. If you have any further questions, feel free to get in touch with me with the contact information on the screen and in the description box. Further, in the description box, you can find a link to my newsletter, where it is a 100% anonymous WhatsApp group where I share all kinds of interesting data, trends, and news items in that WhatsApp group in preparation for my videos here on YouTube or my videos elsewhere on other social media platforms. But keep in mind, I do update the newsletter pretty often. So if you don't have the stomach for constant real estate updates, and why would you? Please feel free not to join. Anyways, let's get to the numbers here quickly. And as I said, for the source of this video, I'm using the TREB market report for condos, the quarterly report here, namely Q2 of 2023. Let's take a look at the condo numbers by region. Namely here, we're going to look at all of the GTA, so GTA wide, which here in the chart, as you will see, is named as total TREB. So you can think of that as equivalent as the entirety of the GTA. But alongside TREB, obviously other regions, more condo dense regions are listed, such as obviously Toronto, but York region, Durham region, Peel region. So this chart is comparing sales in Q2 of 2023 with sales of Q2 of 2022, along with average sold prices. Off the bat, we see across the TREB areas, which is once again equivalent pretty much to the GTA, we see in Q2 of 2023 overall about 6,800 sales with the average sold price of $737,000. Well, in the total TREB areas, this represents a drop in prices because in Q2 of 2022 on a year over year basis, we were looking at an average sold price of $770,000 with a total sales figure of 5,600 sales. So sales were up compared to Q2 of 2022. However, prices were down. And I think this is a trend we'll see pretty evenly distributed across the other regions as well. On all fronts, sales were up, but prices were down. There's obviously no surprise that the area that held up the best was the city of Toronto. The city of Toronto was down in terms of average sold price, dropping from $796,000 in Q2 of 2022 to $769,000 in Q2 of 2023. Nonetheless, though, it is the smallest drop we see on a year over year basis. And what I'm about to say is something that's going to apply to most of the metrics you see here today, because this is a quarterly report. You have to take into account Q2 is defined as April 1st to June 30th, right? And if this was just the first 2 months of Q2 report, if there's such a thing, then guess what? The numbers would look drastically different. I mean, the condo market was very active because the overall Toronto real estate market and GTA real estate market was very active and very hot in April, but especially in the first 2 weeks of May. That's when the market kind of peaked. So it's mostly the month of June that's carrying the numbers down. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons for that. I've talked about all those reasons in my most recent videos, but I'll reiterate quickly. It was an ensuing summer market. Summer markets usually take a dip, seasonally speaking. Furthermore, it was the first actual rate hike after the previous two Bank of Canada meetings, where Bank of Canada continued their conditional pause on the rates. So the first rate hike kind of hit hard. Obviously, as of recording of this video, a second one came just yesterday, July 12th. So if we were to put aside June, and obviously I have not ran the numbers on this, but my gut instincts say this, and I'm pretty confident in my gut instincts because, you know, I work in the market often and I'm working with multiple buyers and sellers at the same time. So I always have my eyes on the pulse of the market. I would venture to say that if June numbers were excluded from this report and we were just looking at May and April numbers, despite the low volume of sales, the prices would be higher. But clearly that's not the case because this is a Q2 report. Another piece of context that I want to add is also what was happening with regards to Q2 of 2022. You see, the peak of the market in the history of the Toronto and GTA real estate market was really February of 2022. That falls in Q1. For condos, actually the peak was March of 2022. That still falls into Q1, but get this. As a result, April of 2022, so the first month of Q2 2022, was coming off the heels of a historically hot month in March. That's why, in contrast, these numbers also may seem a little bit deflated. In a roundabout way, it is to say that early April of 2022 was a hotter period than early April of 2023. So when we take a look at inventory, surprisingly, sales to listing ratio was higher. That means both new listings and active inventory, so active properties on the market for condos, were lower. Because this chart clearly shows a drop in both active and new inventory listings, condos for sale. Namely, with regards to new listings, a drop of 13% year over year, and with regards to active listings, a drop of 8%. So this means that there was less inventory, and the inventory that was circulating on the market, that was staying on the market, had dropped, right? So buyers had less to work with in terms of options, yet nonetheless, sales went up. You would assume when sales go up and inventory goes down, that would lead to an upward pressure on prices. There would be an increase in prices. And once again, that wasn't the case, surprisingly. I would once again like to attribute most of this to June. I think we would see that prices would be higher if we were just looking at the first 2 months. But once again, this is not the exercise we're doing. So tough luck. But as I said earlier in the video, let's take a look at month over month numbers as well. Namely, comparing June 2023 numbers with May 2023 numbers. Because the prices, the average sold prices, become a little bit more of a mixed bag and more interesting when we do as such. We still see a decline in prices on a month over month basis when we take a look at GTA-wide, Toronto-wide. When that is broken down to Toronto Central, Toronto West, Toronto East, same thing. We see a drop in month over month prices. But when it comes down to the downtown core and York region, for the most part York region, excluding Markham, we see an increase on a month over month basis in June of 2023. And this is no surprise because particularly with regards to the downtown core, as the onset of a cooling market was coming in June, which, you know, I was covering on this channel, as I always do, I saw a lot of buyer demand shift towards the downtown core. As always on this channel, my favorite saying is that I don't just go based on the numbers, I go based on my experience as well. And the number of downtown showings I had for buyers in June increased exponentially compared to May and April. May and April, I was mainly working on the selling side as opposed to the buying side. What does surprise me though is the increase in average sold prices, not monumentally so, don't get me wrong. I mean, all these numbers are around the range of 1 to 3%, whether down or up. We're still talking around the margins, but nonetheless, even having provided around the margins, what does surprise me is the uptick in York region on a month over month basis. That's not something that I saw on the ground. Sure, I was working with some buyers who were initially considering some condos in York region, but I did not foresee that for the remainder of June, prices would actually carry up on a month over month basis compared to May of 2023. Particularly as it pertains to York Region condos, Richmond Hill, and Vaughan condo prices. So what does this mean for the future of the Toronto condo market and GTA condo market? As always, obviously, I will be covering it on a weekly and monthly basis as I do on this channel. So feel free to subscribe or join my newsletter for weekly access to the data. But let me summarize my future predictions with regards to the condo market. And this is more within context of where I see the future of the GTA real estate market headed overall. As always, though, I want to preface, I don't have a crystal ball and I can't look into the future. If I could look into the future, I wouldn't be here right now. I would be somewhere in Portugal or Europe. But the point is, I do believe in my initial prediction, I think I clarified in one of the videos I released earlier this year. I do believe that condos are actually the best situated with regards to handling the downward pressure that is going to come on the market. We saw some of it in June. We're going to see more of it in July. They did increase the interest rates yesterday. And this is even despite the fact that maintenances are subject to go up across all condos due to inflationary pressure. So this is having been provided that carrying costs for condos will go up. But the reason I think condos are the best situated, the best positioned within the market to handle downward pressure is the very same reason I believe condos are not going to grow the most either. That's right, because all along I've been saying that condos are actually the most consistent. If you're looking at them for investment purposes, 8 times out of 10, they're not going to grow as much as other alternatives. Of course, all things being equal, area and your finances, everything else being equal. So they're not necessarily the best growth options in the short term. At the same time, in the short term, they're not the worst off either. In the last 17 to 18 months, when we look at condo prices, they have shown to be the most consistent. They have dropped the least and they have gone up the least. So will condo prices continue to drop from here as we experienced a rate hike yesterday, and who knows what will happen in September, but we're entering the summer market? Yes, undoubtedly so. However, will they drop as much as other property types? I don't believe so. I think they have shown to be consistent, and I think we're going to see in retrospect that there have been the property type that has dropped the least. Hey, I might be wrong about that, but we'll see. As always, I will cover the numbers as we go along within the Toronto and GTA real estate market. This is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. My contact information in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with any further inquiries or subscribe for more. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.